My name's Nick Broughton, and I'm a Randomfish. Hit the subscribe button and let's all be Randomfishes together, shall we? So, I've been on a kick of old kids' British TV shows. I stopped doing that for a little bit because I wanted to talk about other things, like the big movies, like Avengers Endgame, and, you know, random BBC show called Ghosts, and stuff like that. And I also went on a little bit of a Tiz Was about School of Rock episode 1 and might have talked a little bit about rewriting Superman Returns. But I decided to get back to what I think is important, which is, of course, talking about shows that not many people want to talk about. Case in point, a show on CBBC, a little show called Kerching. Please tell me you remember it. If not, kids, ask your parents about Kerching. Or if not your parents, then your older siblings. Jeez, that makes me feel old. Okay, anyway. Kerching is a show from CBBC that was released way, way back in the olden days of 2003. Oh, 2003, people. Ugh. Them's were the days. But Kerching is about a guy called Taj Lewis, who is ultimately attempting to become a millionaire in order to give the money to his mum. And remember, this is a comedy show. I want you to remember, please, that this is a comedy show. Why is he making the million for his mum? Is it to be just a nice kid? Is it because he wants to help his mum out? Yes. But also because he promised his dying dad he would look after his family. Yep. You heard right. He promised his dying dad to look after his family. Now that we've got that piece of information out of the way, let's move on. The show follows Taj and his two friends, Seymour, and of course, Danny. Now, I'm looking at my laptop because I keep on forgetting people's names, so do forgive me, but it is still here. So Seymour, Danny and Taj do this thing where they attempt to find something to make money out of it. Hijinks ensue. Things are either good or bad at the end. It's your standard sitcom setup. But here comes the question. I've watched a few episodes of this. Now, bear in mind, you can't get the full seasons of anything on YouTube of Kerching. There's just no way. But there are a few select episodes. And I've watched through them. Why? Because I wanted to get a taste of what the show used to be like, and also to see if it still held up. Because that's kind of what I'm looking at. I wanted to see if a show like Kerching, that I held in quite high regard even when I was a teenager, as to whether or not it actually still works as a show. Now, you kids over at Nickelodeon, you can have your Snicks, you can have your Nickcoms, you can have all sorts of that kind of shit. But for us here in England, we had sitcoms on CITV and CBBC. And Kerching is still one of the finest out there. Now granted, every episode, pretty much, not all the time, but most of them have the same setup. Idea is formed, harebrained scheme, things go wrong, things either go well or not so well for the person involved. It's one or the other. But there's usually comedy at the end, and everything's usually made funny by the end, so it's fine, it works, it's lovely. But then, here comes my real question. If that's really what was going on, if that really was the way it was trying to be, then how come I still remember it so well? Two very good reasons. Number one, the actors make this thing sing. The guy who plays Taj Lewis, Devon Anderson, he's a friggin' genius. And he was such a good actor, even at that age. And do you know what? I have nothing but props for the guy. Nothing but props. Absolutely nothing. And all the other actors in this thing are just as good, and they're brilliantly funny. And the way it's done shows a lot of promise for a lot of different reasons. And it's great. But the other thing that really makes Kerching stand out as a sitcom to anything else, it has an ending. Yeah. This is what a lot of these shows don't have. The likes of You Can't Say That on Television or anything like that. Again, I don't mean to criticize shows. Fuck it, that's exactly what I'm here for. Let's do this. Shows that don't have endings or shows that have forced endings are stupid. Because if you run out of money or if the studio wants to cut you or for whatever reason, just go out on top and have a good episode and leave it up to the audience to come up with the ending. Do that. I mean, to harp on a show that I know a lot of people enjoy, Spaced. It has a decent enough ending, but it doesn't have the ending of all things. I.e., you don't know if the characters actually got together in the end. You don't know if any of that sort of stuff happened in the end. But I do know that a lot of this stuff was forced to exist. And whether or not it actually works is another question entirely. But here's what I do know. Kerching has an ending. And it has an impressive one. Taj makes his million. Now, he's been trying to make this million for his mum for over 4 seasons. It's been lasting 3 years, 4 seasons. He needs to get the money to his mum somehow. So what does he do? Everyone had 1,000,001 ideas. He was just going to anonymously mail the check. Or I thought for one point that he was just going to have someone else dress up as Rude Boy and have him come into the cafe, hand the check to his mum and say, I made a bet some time ago with Taj's dad and this is his winnings, I'm giving them to you. You know, something like that. It's something big and dramatic and cheesy and all that sort of shit. But they really did do a decent thing here, and they give a lesson that I think is a good lesson to give, which is to tell the truth. Now, Taj has been doing a lot of stuff that, for lack of a better term, in this day and age would be illegal. Like, stone cold illegal. Now, bear in mind, this is the time of life when the likes of LimeWire was out there somewhere, and people were using that. It was insane. But here's the thing. Back then, he was doing all this illegal stuff, but he was able to get away with it because he was being a legit businessman while doing it. And that's what works. But at the end, he makes the million, he gives it to his mum, and he tells her everything. And I think that is an admirable thing to do on a show like that. Especially when the entire outset is based on him lying to his mum about what he does. And I think it's brilliant that a lot of this stuff happens, and a lot of this stuff sort of works. And it even gets to a point where you see these characters all learning about Taj's secret, and Taj tells them the reason as to why he's doing it. And he's not doing it because he's greedy, he's not doing it because he wants to be a top dog in the business world. He does, but that's kind of a side product of what he wants. But his main reason for doing it is for his mum. And to give her the money. Which is brilliant. And they stick to it like glue. And I will never get over how impressive that was to me as a teenager to see a show that was based entirely around the idea that none of these actors, none of these characters anyway, wanted to walk away from the situation, and they all wanted to help Taj to make that cool million because it was helping his mum, but it was also giving him a leg up and boost of what he needed as well. And I think that was a genius bit of work for everyone involved. Now, I love Kerching for multiple reasons. And I think that it's a formulaic episodic show. It follows the sitcom thing to a ridiculous degree. But it's also fun to watch. And it always will be. Now, this has been a relatively short review, what I'm doing here. But I do plan on trying to make a bigger video next week. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have access to all of the episodes of Kerching, like I said before. I've only watched a handful. I have not been able to fully grasp every episode. Wikipedia will only do me so much. Sorry, but they just do. So this is what I'm going to say. Go watch the episodes that you can find. Find them on YouTube. Find them on other websites. Do it in any legal way that you can see working. However, watch it and appreciate it. Especially to you, if you're a slightly younger viewer watching this and you haven't seen Kerching or you haven't heard of Kerching. First of all, shame on you. I mean, I'm just saying, shame on you. But I will say, find the episodes, enjoy them while you can. Because those episodes and that show, it's a lovely piece, it's a lovely send-up, and it's a lovely staple of the time that we all grew up in. Those of you who are my age and we grew up in the 2000s as teenagers and you watched that stuff as well, yes. But next week, I'm going to be walking away from CBBC and I'm going to be walking towards CITV. But only for a couple of shows. Because I'll be honest, not a lot of CITV stuff grabbed me as much as CBBC did. So, with that being said, I want to finish today on a little bit of a side note. I want to talk about British and American programming. Now, I've seen a lot of shows, a lot of internet shows, I should say, talking about American TV shows. For more specific reasons, I'm talking about Channel Awesome. They have released videos regarding the Disney Afternoon, Fox Kids, and most recently, one of the most recent ones was Toonami, which was all about the likes of anime and all that kind of stuff on there. Now, I would like to make something equivalent like that for us here. Now, bear in mind, I do a lot of clipless stuff, and this is all clipless reviews for me, because I have neither the editing skills nor the desire to really start fighting off against a whole bunch of legal battles, so I've been doing this the easy way for a while now. But I do want to stress that for a lot of us in this day and age, CBBC and CITV, they were our biggest staples of our childhoods. CBBC definitely was. And it is something that I don't feel a lot of people give credit for. Or something a lot of people online don't talk about. Someone just got shot outside my window. No, they didn't. I'm kidding. But CBBC really was an amazing program set. And it's still going today. You got the CBBC channel over on TV, which is lovely to watch. I mean, I haven't watched it in any way since I was about 19, I think. And even then, I watched it primarily because I wanted to catch up on certain episodes of certain shows. Because I wanted to see how far it went. But then a lot of the stuff I found on YouTube now, so it's less and less needed for me to watch the actual channel anymore, even if I wanted to. But here's where it gets interesting. The show and the programs that they released really did impact a lot of people and for a lot of different kids. And to all of you who grew up watching CBBC programs in any way, shape or form, I want you to leave me a comment below of one of your favourite CBBC programs. I want you to tell me why it was your favourite program. And who knows, maybe if enough people talk about them, I'll have a look at them myself and see what I missed. Because I watched it, but I wasn't 100% always watching CBBC. I couldn't have been. I was busy watching other stuff as well. But I mean, if the programs are talked about enough, I'll see what I can find out. But for now, next week I'm going to be talking about the CITV show that I think deserves the most talking about, given that I know there's been a reboot of it done not that long ago now. I want to talk about CITV's The Worst Witch. Yep, I'm talking about that one. That's going to be fun, isn't it? Along with its sequel show. So, again, if you have any favourite CBBC programs, please leave them in the comments. Please like, please subscribe, all of those wonderful things. Randomfish out.